of
It's
that,
like
yeah.
a Willy Wonka golden ticket
Yeah.
in the dungeon. I just watched that episode. And,
Oh yeah.
I binged the Michael Scott Paper Company stuff with
Classic.
Idris Elba, which is ironic because I also watched The Suicide Squad. So I am a guy.
I forgot he's in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a guy who's up for anything with Idris Elba in it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all for anything.
He's great. He is one hell of an actor, and he's a pretty good looking guy. You know, he just has that look that's like
he's
really
so
interesting.
cool looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and when I first saw him in The Office, that was arguably the first time I had seen him.
I think for me too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't think of
and-
anything else before then.
You know, I didn't have much reference for anything. I know he had done, I think up to that point, a couple movies, and like I think he was blowing up, starting to really take heat his career when The Office was going on, and he had already done like The Wire and a couple movies, and maybe he was also like about to do that one movie with Beyonce called Obsessed, where he's really I don't know if you've ever heard that. He's very sought after. It's one of those like
I saw that. Yeah.
it's one of those just like really uncomfortable movies where you're like, this is bullshit. You know, like he is in a horrible situation. Like she is fucking him over, you know?
Yeah.
But that, you know, he wasn't in any of the superhero universes yet. He wasn't like an action star or anything. He wasn't like a top dollar, like considered for James Bond or anything like that. He was just, you know, Charles Minor in The Office.
Yeah.
And
Very
and it's
minor
really
character.
yeah, but it also like I don't know, he's really good at being the David Wallace, like restrained, like looking annoyed all the time at Steve Carell and Rainn Wilson and John Krasinski even.
Yeah.
You know, no one does that in the show, but Idris Elba I think is the only guy in the show who looks like he's just can't stand Jim Halpert.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
and he pulls it off like really well. Yeah.
Because Jim is so good at like sort of manipulating and dealing with Michael, because he's just because Michael just loves him so much and thinks he's his best friend.
Yeah.
And and then Charles is the one that makes Jim uncomfortable because he's not like Dwight has that talking head where he's like, oh, Jim isn't you know
the new boss doesn't think Jim's incredible.
Yeah.
Something like that. Oh wow.
Yeah. And then once Dwight starts talking about his bee plan to like infiltrate them
that's
with
one of
bees.
the big moments where Idris Elba's just staring at Dwight, and it's fucking hilarious.
that look he gives him is perfect. Yeah. It's
yeah,
so
where he's like,
funny.
what is wrong with you? Yeah,
what
that's
is wrong with you?
that stretch of episodes is one of those where I really get caught up into the show. Like it's like season 3, I am, you know, really addicted to it the whole way, like from when it begins, and then season 5 is not so much that until I get to like Michael Scott Paper Company. I get really into it there. Like once he quits his job, I'm like, I gotta see this thing through the end. I gotta see him leave, and I gotta see him steal the clients, and I gotta see him come back and, you know, get his offer and get him, Pam and Ryan back their jobs back. There's just something about it, you know. It's a really fascinating string of episodes.
Yeah, and you really get to see, like, I don't know, more of Pam and Ryan and like their relationship with Michael too, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, they're in a very vulnerable place, clearly, because otherwise there's like no way they'd be doing it. And you can also just see on their face just how like they're like, what the fuck, every day, you know, like, what am I doing with my life right now?
Yeah.
Like it's come to this, like, it's a really, I don't know, just it gives me goosebumps when they like walk into their like closet office for the first time, and Ryan and Pam are just like looking at it, kind of looking a little just, not totally optimistic. And Michael's just like, welcome to the Michael Scott Paper Company.
He puts the sign up too and everything.
Yeah, he's got the sign up. He's got the logo.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, it's one of those where it's like a bad idea the whole way, and and every time you rewatch it, it's not gonna go well, but you're also rooting for it the whole way, and you like feel good about them just doing anything. It's just so not like a real thing that happens. It's just like this short dream in the middle of the grand scheme of the show. But it's like a favorite among fans.
Yeah, right. And I also love that they bring back Vikram for this too.
For the real quick moment, and she's like,
yeah,
we got Vikram.
Best salesman I know.
Yeah.
And then Vikram's like in the back seat, and he's like, what kind of name is Nana anyway?
Mm-hmm.
And then Pam's like, short for grandmother, and then he just goes, sweet Jesus. And then Vikram's just like, done. Yeah,
and he feels better. He feels more comfortable at the telemarketing company than he's like, I gotta go back there.
He's trying to give Michael like actual really really good advice.
Just close the door. Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's too funny.
And that investors meeting is like, Pam is always shooting for the stars, and one day she might grab one.
And just when Pam shows up for like their first day of work at his condo too, and he's making French toast.
Yeah. And that's when like those two characters finally aren't like, I don't know, they become more actual friends rather than like someone Pam's constantly trying to avoid. She starts like trying to help him with all sorts of things, and like that day where she comes to his apartment, his condo, I mean, she kind of helps him from freaking out, and then later he kind of calms her down a little bit. Either way, in each situation they're totally fucked, but they kind of get each other through it. Where he's like, all right, we both quit. Nothing's gonna change that. Remember, kiddo. He's like, we can't go back because we quit. It's like, so we can start this paper company, or that's our only option because we quit.
Yeah, for how stupid he is and how stupid of a decision that was, like he does actually show some like courage, which is why why you root for.
Well, they really are like relying on him the whole way, on just his experience, because Ryan and Pam, like I relate a lot to Pam on this watch of The Office, because I think she's definitely like late 20s, or at least at the very oldest maybe 30. Because you could tell the stage she's at in her life. And Ryan's just like a little younger than that, probably like early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
So those characters are much more just relatable now, and much more comedic and all that stuff.
Yeah. We just actually the other night watched the episode where Pam has her like art show, and
I watched that too.
Yeah, and then Michael shows up at the end, and they have that nice moment.
Yeah, and it's so sad. It's such a sad episode.
And he just puts up it's really heartwarming in a way too. And he puts the painting up, and he's like, "This is our building, and we sell paper."
Yeah,
just so like simple. Yeah.
And what does he come from again? In that he comes from.
He was actually at business school with Ryan speaking.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good episode.
Or he feels
what
so
are you
gonna
broken. Need for a business? You're gonna need a building. You need supply. You need he's like so good at being, he like comes off like a great speaker, but then everything that comes out of his mouth is just such nonsense, but he has like all these elements that make him actually what could be a good public speaker. but then just everything that comes out, like as he finishes each
Mm-hmm.
sentence, it's all just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Incoherent, like nonsense. And like, it's like the more and it's like clearly that he's trying a lot, but that he doesn't have, I don't know, the intelligence or just the experience to like fit in the world like that he is speaking in front of.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Even in entrepreneurism, where he's talking to Nana and he's like, I will not be beat. He's like, we will. He's like, we will. I don't know. I forget. It's one of those sentences where like he will not be beat or something like that, and then he phrases it in different ways. Like that is my mission statement, and then his Nana's like, what?
Yeah.
And that's where he blows it there. I've been enjoying season 5, but season 5 also it's not as like I'm glued to it all the way through as season 3 and 4. Like there's actually episodes where I'm like I can skip that this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also episodes where I'm like, well, this story is not quite as good as this story. You know, like the B story is not as, it's like filler for the A story.
Yeah.
And but still there are many moments where I'm like, oh, I wanted to skip to Michael Scott Paper Company
Mm-hmm.
and Idris Elba. And I would realize I'm like, wait a second, I can't skip this one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in that one, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like a good example is Swiss Family Paper.
Oh,
Um,
Prince Family Paper.
Prince
Yeah.
Family Paper, yeah, not Swiss. Um, like because I was like, oh yeah, they like destroy that family paper company. I want to see that again. But then and it is really funny to watch because all the
Mm-hmm.
guilt like comes up in Michael after he gives over the information to David Wallace, and Dwight is kind of, he's like, Dwight, what will happen to this family now? And Dwight's like, David will use that information to destroy them.
Destroyed. Yeah.
And he just feels like the ultimate guilt the rest of the episode. Um, but the B story is like this whole kind of whether Hillary Swank is hot conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of a drag, even though there's some good bits in it. It's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of a drag for the most part and not
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel, but there are some episodes even in like the like really good seasons where I feel like if Michael is away, I'm not as into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for
Particularly
sure.
with Office Olympics, which I think is a great
Office
episode.
Olympics. Yep.
But there are points of it where they're at the office and Michael and Dwight aren't there, and it's almost just not as engaging to me because it just seems like
Right.
normal people wasting time at
Right.
work.
An example where it's done well, I think Dwight and Michael go to partying with Ryan, which is
Yeah.
obviously really hilarious. And then
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the office, they just kind of get left there. You know, they kind of get stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
So that one is kind of good because it's the kind of just discomfort of them being stuck at the office. But yeah, I know what you mean. The rest of them really are not. I mean, I think a lot of them, they don't even have anything. They have really just small stuff going on, but the real weight of it is like, say, Michael and Dwight going to give the gift baskets. Like when they're
Mm-hmm.
going to give the gift baskets, I don't think they show what else is going on at the office much, because what do you
Yeah.
want to see,
Yeah.
really? And that's what makes season 4 good, in my opinion, is that it really, you just get deep into whatever is going on with Michael, and it just keeps going on and on until you don't know where the fuck you've been. Like the first episode where he hits Meredith, it's all around the guilt of hitting Meredith, and then he learns about the rabies, and then it's the run for the rabies, and then he's getting sick on the run, and that's really all it's about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think going back to what you said, about like season 5 and like onwards and skipping things, is I feel like just with how big it got, that there are times where it becomes like a caricature of itself, where
Yeah. Well, I think more ensemble was starting to take place into 5. You
hmm
see a little glimmers of more ensemble,
Mm-hmm.
and which is where I kind of started to fall out of it more, because obviously as Michael leaves, it's 100% ensemble,
Yeah.
which is like, what the fuck? This is not
Mm-hmm.
The Office anymore, you know? It's what I always thought about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really difficult to rewatch any of season 8 or 9. I don't. I think
I haven't.
yeah. I think I've only seen all of it through once, maybe a few episodes here and there twice. But
Yeah.
yeah. But
I might have
just
not seen all of them even.
oh wow. Yeah. See, I made sure just to
Yeah.
like for
I
completionist
really
sake.
fell out
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
But it was really tough to watch some of those episodes later on. That was just really like just a completely different show, and yeah, like a shell of its former self. Yeah.
Yeah. And the main reason I'm watching past season 4 is so I can see some of those episodes, um, like in 5, 6, and 7, where oh, Steve does some like really crazy shit in this episode. I got to see that one. Like, I got to see him and him take a picture with the concierge. Well, yeah, when
Concierge Marie.
remember, like, where they hijack her night, they just like, Andy brings them drinks. He's like, "Can I get a picture of you too?" Like, right
Yeah.
away. Yeah. I actually have a Toby type at work.
Oh, really?
Like a Toby. I have a Toby guy. Um, you know, the guy who was like, who like annoyed me about his
Jamaican
take
beer.
on Jamaican beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
is that same guy. And like, I noticed I was getting like really like annoyed, and I was being like really like rude to him at the end of his shift, because he was like talking to me, and he kind of talks very like low and slow, kind of like this. He sounds a lot like this, and he talks constantly like this. And he was going, I don't know if anyone old and boring, John, has ever talked to you about their television setup for a long time, and how they don't have cable anymore. They now have, and they don't need cable because they have Netflix
Yeah.
and HBO and Hulu. And because of that, they only pay like $30, and they don't really need cable because it's all on streaming. And they tell you this whole thing that everyone knows, is it's like obvious nowadays. You don't need to
Yeah.
tell me that. And then they tell you in the longest, most tedious way at the end of a 8-hour shift where you didn't want to do any of that anyways, and now you're just listening to this thing. Yeah,
God,
but I
yeah.
noticed as he was like telling me this, how he went on, and he's like, "I don't really need cable anymore. My parents have it, but I tell them they shouldn't. You don't need it nowadays." Like, I was like legit, like when like Michael's like trying to, talk to Toby, um he's like, where he's like, Mr. Robin Williams, or Mr. Steve Martin, or Robin Williams, he says like, "You're about to be," or Kurt Russell, he says Kurt Russell, he
Oh, yeah,
says,
yeah,
"Mr.
yeah.
Kurt Russell, you're about to be served." And he's like trying to just, I don't know, like have a real conversation with him, and he just can't. That was kind of me, as this guy was like trying to telling me all this shit. I was just like giving him every signal that I was just not having this.
Just one of those people that doesn't get the cue, the social cue that you're not into it.
Yeah, well, and I feel bad because I know he's just kind of an introverted like IT guy, and he just,
Hmm.
struggles with that side of things. But like, man, it's just brutal.
Have you watched the show What We Do in the Shadows at all?
I have not.
I think you might like that. It's Carly and I really like it. It's pretty funny. It's same type of humor as like The Office and the movie What We Do in
It's
the
on
Shadows.
Netflix,
Hulu.
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 Okay.
Yeah. But there's a character. So they're all the main characters are actual vampires. And then there's one who's an energy vampire who he does have like supernatural powers, but his power is that he just at work he just like drones on and on and on about like stuff like that, and
Yeah,
he drains people's energy, and that gives him like life, like that keeps him alive. And it that what you're saying is just sounds
that's
exactly like him.
that's pretty hilarious. That's
It's
great.
so funny. Yeah,
That's funny. Yeah,
he would just go like, yeah, I just kind of cut the cord. I don't need
yeah,
cable anymore. And then the people at work are just like completely just drained of energy and
yeah.
just yeah.
And that's kind
Um,
of how Toby is, I think, to
yeah.
like Michael is just he is the epitome of like normal, just person. There's so many Tobys, and he's just like a really nice guy too. He's just doing
Mm-hmm.
his best, but because um, I don't know, he doesn't provide the stimulus or dopamine or whatever, for Michael's just, I don't know, need to entertain and be entertained and create that kind of vibe, especially as you said, as the cameras are rolling. Um, yeah, like Toby for him is just the enemy, of what he stands for. But it's
Doesn't he call him the Antichrist at one point?
probably,
Something like that,
probably.
yeah. Or no, he's like what are we gonna do anything about the asbestos in the office? It's the silent killer, And then he goes, "You are the silent killer. Go back to the inn."
All right. Well, I'd like to talk more about movies I've watched lately. And also, I missed things the last time we podcasted. Not only did I not say some things about some movies, but I also didn't bring up some movies just because I wasn't really feeling it as much.
Hmm.
Um, so I'd like to just, I view that episode in a way as like it needs to be like wrapped up as well as like added to. So that's kind of what I'd like to accomplish today.
Yeah, this is like part two, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, like we really didn't talk. I don't have a ton to say about the terminal, but we really didn't talk about it at all because I was in such a, I don't know, kind of depressed mood that the terminal just sounded so stupid to talk about. And Dude, Where's My Car also did. But that's all right because I am feeling more normal today. So I feel like I can talk meaninglessly about both of those meaningless films and not get too depressed about it, which
All
is
right.
what this is all about.
That
Um,
is, yeah. That is what this is
what
about.
One thing I heard about the terminal actually um, was that the budget I think is a lot, and I think it all went towards building that airport set where everything takes place.
Yeah, because they couldn't get. I mean, they couldn't get permission to film
It's
in
probably
actual JFK.
yeah, I don't think that'd be. And they do build something that kind of looks like the main part of JFK.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's what he would want, like a more centralized feel. So you can't just shut down the main terminal of JFK for your
Yeah.
stupid movie. So he built one, and I actually think they did it's one of the best things of the movie is the set they built for this.
Hey,
It's
yeah,
like
it is good.
because really it is all just them. It is them just you know it's like hijinks if you could call it, and dialogue scenes in these various locations for the most part.
Hmm. Yeah. Occasionally, I'll see these letterbox reviews of things where they will say like they'll quote IGN and say like this makes you feel like you were in the war or whatever, and like the terminal makes you feel like you were in the terminal.
It
Yeah,
does,
that's how
man.
good the set was. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could tell that his like where he sleeps, and how like the lighting is so good that
Hmm.
it really is that is definitely a set they built.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
but it
it's just
does.
such a moody nighttime terminal that he's like sleeping in.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think it. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting setting for a movie too. is to only be set inside of an airport terminal. I
Right.
do think that is interesting on the surface, you know.
Well, it's like he has an attempt at heavy commentary here that is like clearly it is falls short. It does not work. But there's also that like there is the slight imagination of, you know, loving airports, which is a very childlike thing that Spielberg kind of brings to life in this through the filmmaking, which I think is cool. But there's, you know, that's only done during like, you know, transitions where you're kind of moving to a different part of the airport and you see the way the camera's moving like all around and everything, and you're like, wow, that shot's really cool, look at this place. And then like and then Tom Hanks opens his mouth and you're like, oh fuck, like this is awful.
Yeah, I honestly, the more I think about the actual movie, the less I like it, and I like it the more it like gets on my nerves just to think about that. It is kind of insufferable at times to listen
Yeah.
to, and even Stanley Tucci is I just find like really annoying in this too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's like really good in it in a way, but I think his
Hmm.
character is like written like wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
just
just
he's kind of a confusing villain in this.
yeah, and I mean I feel like it. I mean I was definitely half-assing watching this, but he like flip flops back and forth between
He
wanting to
does.
just get him out
He
and then
does.
also not wanting him to leave and
Yeah, and then at the end
wanting
he
him to
doesn't want
help.
him to get out for some reason, and
Yeah.
not yeah. Yeah, and his introduction as a character where he gives that monologue on why Tom Hanks can't leave
Hmm.
is like is just one of the most savage moments in movies I've ever seen. Like he pretty much just tells him, yeah, while you were on the plane, your country went to civil war, or you know, is in civil war. And he tells him this like such a dick. Like he kind of
Yeah.
like he like smashes like a bag of chips to like talk
Yeah.
about his country.
Yeah.
Um
It's
and
gone or whatever.
yeah. He's like, it's gone.
There is no country.
Yeah. And he's like, he's like, you can't come into the United States because this. So you, my friend, have no country right now. It's just like, holy fuck.
This guy has no empathy or like whatsoever.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
like
I feel like it's kind of Spielberg's going for that. He's going for like a playful like villain, like American villain, you know? But yeah, like the motivation of his character is like really flawed, and he is just very like irredeemable and just and weird. But just like
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I agree with the that he's for sure irredeemable. I just couldn't get into it. And
Yeah.
yeah, like he, you know, he tries to get him to help him out too with like translating the one guy who has the
Yeah, and then he
medicine for his
starts to work
family
for
and
him, so you feel like they're building a working relationship in a way, kind of like Tom Hanks and Leo and Catch Me If You Can a little bit, but then I don't even know, like plot wise, I lose track, but then like he's against him later at the end, and it seems as the more he kind of he rounds up all the workers of the airport together, the more Stanley Tucci is against him.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's like I just dislike so much about this movie, and then there's like these little things here and there. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like at the end when he's walking out and everyone's cheering for him and stuff, I'm like, oh, this is kind of good, you know. But then there's so many dreadful other things. The whole idea of this is in a way so offensive, and just you just can't believe that any of it's allowed to go down.
Hmm.
That the playfulness and the comedy that Spielberg sees in this, it's really overshadowed by, you're like, wow, I just can't, like, I feel like even in America, like, how could this be allowed to happen? Like, it's just some guy. I mean, I think it might be there's a chance it's based off an article where it did happen.
Yeah, it's based on a real guy who,
Right.
he was, I think he's from Iran, and I was trying to read up about this before I watched, and I think something was wrong with his visa, and he either had to, fly back to Iran and get a new visa and then come back, or that was pretty much his only option. Like he couldn't, they wouldn't allow him into the country, and he
Right.
just,
Right.
and they kept trying to help him, and like years went by that he just lived in the airport terminal, and to a point it's like frustrating that it's like all these people were trying. I was reading that like people were getting frustrated with him because they were trying to help him out. Lawyers were trying to help him just get into like the Iran embassy in New York so that they could help him out, and all these people were trying to help him, and he just wouldn't accept it because he didn't want to leave. And
Damn.
so the guy in like real life like was kind of annoying in that sense, that everyone was trying to help him, but he just refused to leave, and it's like, I guess they can't, they can't force him to
Right.
leave, I guess,
Right.
legally. So I think ultimately he ended up leaving and coming back to the US or something, but I forget. But yeah, some Victor Navorsky in some parts seemed like, are they like making him out to be mentally challenged or
Yeah,
something
yeah. It's
too? That
more. There's a lot more dumb to him than.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seemed like
It's not just
insensitive. Yeah.
language barrier. It's like he doesn't know how to even like function just in public, really.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like he just escaped from a mental
And I think
institution or
he's
something.
going for like a Chaplin-ish thing there. But in
Yeah.
this, being that it's like his identity is that he is a foreigner,
Yeah.
it's a little offensive based off that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe in 2004 people weren't thinking about that as much. I mean, clearly. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think today something like this would just get, if it came out
Yeah.
today, it would just
Well,
get
I can see like in
torn to pieces.
2004 white people being like really uplifted by this.
Oh, yeah, that's such a great story about this guy from another country.
Yeah.
It's like, or does it make him look like a fucking idiot? Like, yeah, it's
This is why we don't let these ketchup mustard eating four immigrants into our
yeah,
country.
yeah. Maybe it's gonna be spun as propaganda. Yeah, uh, yeah. I don't know. The more I talk about it and just think about it, the less I like. Like I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. I feel like I should dock that
I
a
did
little bit.
too.
Yeah,
I did for quality of filmmaking at times.
yeah, yeah,
Because I was like, this shot is really cool. Like
yeah.
this one, yeah. And it's probably the worst Spielberg movie easily.
Hmm.
Um, but there's also Ready Player One. I haven't seen that yet, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Man, I might like Ready Player One more than The Terminal, and I
Mm,
didn't really like Ready Player One.
yeah.
Uh, but I might just like it for that, for just like throwing nostalgia in your face. I might take that over watching uh this weird, somewhat offensive movie that is also pretty long and boring at times.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. It's kind of a slog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. When I was a kid, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. I remember seeing it in the
Seven.
theater and
Yeah.
thinking, hey,
Oh,
yeah, okay.
I didn't see it in the theater, but
Not a bad movie. Yeah.
I watched it like with my family. I'm pretty sure I fell asleep with while watching it, and I had no idea it was Tom Hanks either.
Some foreign actor. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "Who's this? I was like, that's the well. If I didn't know the actor as a kid, I would be like, oh, this is the real guy. This is all happening
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a documentary almost. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how you'd get so into it. And you're like,
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
if you can believe it, I'm a lot more detached from movies nowadays than I was as a kid.
Yeah, it would be funny like as a kid seeing um seeing a movie with someone in it and then seeing that same person who that was the first time you'd seen him in anything and then seeing another movie where they're a completely different character
Yeah, you're like,
and you're
this
like,
guy.
"Whoa, this is weird." Like
Like,
that's
that's
not.
the guy.
Yeah, wait, he's in that other movie as a completely different person. Why is he this now? Like that doesn't make sense. I remember thinking that with uh Bill Paxton, I think,
Oh, yeah.
because I'd like
Which
seen
movies?
Twister. I'd seen Twister, and I was
Twister.
like, oh, he's like a normal guy and whatever. And then I think maybe I'd seen Alien or Predator. I bet it was Predator, and he's just like this crazy action guy. It's like this isn't him. He's the guy from
Yeah.
Twister. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah. Just I can't make those connections as a kid. That no, they're
Right.
just
I can't
actors
think
playing
of a good
different people.
example, but that happened, because it's so long ago, but that happened to me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. But
So let's get
that's
off
the
the
terminal.
terminal.
I've had enough of the terminal. But I'm glad we knocked it out.
Another movie I'd like to talk about is the new Soderbergh movie, No Sudden Moves,
Ah,
which I
yes.
actually really liked. So we can talk about something we like now.
Yeah, here we go.
Um, yeah, I dug this movie a lot when I saw it was going to be Cheadle, Benicio, and I mean, who's the other guy again?
Brendan Fraser's in it too.
Yeah,
Um, John Hamm, David Harbour, Ray
John
Liotta.
Hamm is a main character, and then Julia Fox is in this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
She has a couple scenes, which I definitely root for her career. That's for sure. Ray Liotta is in this movie.
Yeah.
Um, and Matt Damon has maybe in my favorite
Oh,
scene in this movie.
that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part. Wow.
Is
Yeah.
he who does he play again? Like the CEO of like like a giant car company, like GM or
Yeah.
Ford or one of those things?
It's like an I'm pretty sure it's like an uncredited role too, which he seems to love doing
That yeah, but that's a
lately.
great scene, great performance.
Yeah, I can't even figure out what exactly what his character was. Yeah,
Yeah, I
because he's
mean,
uncredited. Yeah.
he just represents big business. It's another
Hmm.
like Soderbergh has done in a lot of his past few movies, like just critiqued capitalism a lot. Very on the nose in the movie The Laundromat, which I don't know if you've seen yet.
Not yet.
Um,
No.
it's actually one of his lesser films, in my opinion. I was kind of like thought it was a little boring and weird, but still had a lot of good things. And then High Flying Bird also has that, and yeah, he's doing that a lot lately. And so with that Matt Damon role, he literally just comes out and I forget what he says, but he just says a lot of like, I'm a piece of shit CEO, money hungry capitalist guy, and like,
Hmm.
that's just kind of what it is. Yeah, I like this movie a lot. Like, I like how it's just like a play on genre and like a little noirish, a little heist-ish. Just felt very familiar for someone. It's just like for people who've like no genre.
Hmm.
So and as usual, the cinematography was really great, and the actors kind of just did their thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely. I mean, I feel like you can't. You're guaranteed to get like a good experience out of this with just the people involved, and then yeah, that opening too. it felt very much like a classic like neo noir
Yeah. Yeah.
movie. So yeah, set it up really nice, and yeah, I liked it a lot too. And I'm all for um anytime Steven Soderbergh wants to do an anti-capitalist movie. I'm here for it for sure. um, yeah, yeah, I liked it a lot too. I think um I had really high expectations for it, and I think it was a little bit more toned down than I thought it would be, um, which is not a negative thing at all. But yeah, yeah, I liked it a lot. I guess I don't have too much more to say about it than what you said too. But it's also good to see
Yeah,
Brendan
maybe I
Fraser.
took everything you could have said
Yeah,
about it for
I was
all
gonna
I know.
say exactly what you said, but even better. But yeah, it's not worth it.
It's not worth repeating.
No.
Yeah, I just saw it on HBO Max, and I saw the guys in it. I was like, wait, that's the Soderbergh movie. Oh my god! Yeah, just flipped out right
Oh
there.
yeah,
And yeah, so not a lot of hype for me, really. Just the fact that I saw it
yeah.
existed, I was like, yes.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I feel
yeah,
like there's not usually a ton of hype about Soderbergh movies, like, and it seems like intentionally. I don't know.
yeah. It's like more so just like if you're into film and movies, like that people are, but um, yeah, it's not. They don't. Yeah, obviously Soderbergh movies aren't getting the hype that the Suicide Squad
James
is
Gunn.
getting, or
Yeah.
with James Gunn, which I will talk about later.
Ooh.
Um, Also, I watched Soderbergh's The Nick season 1.
Oh, I
Just to
didn't realize
pile
he did
on
that.
while we're talking about. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch The Nick for a while.
That's with Clive
And
Owen, right?
yep, that's on HBO Max. So if you ever want to get to it, it's very available.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's with Clive Owen, and it basically follows a surgery center called the Nick in the late 1800s, and kind of deals a lot with like just things like race back then, and a lot of just very still relevant things today, like just addiction and mental illness and all this stuff. And
Hmm.
it is really damn good, I must say. It is towards the top tier of the things that Steven Soderbergh has directed.
Wow.
Yeah, like I understood all the. It took me a little bit to get into it, but once it once it got towards the middle, I was very into it, and then when it ended, I realized I'm like, holy shit, this was brilliant. Yeah, pretty awesome.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna look into that for sure. I did not know that that was Soderbergh.
yeah, it was like a film professor of mine that told me about it. Like he told our class about it like 5 years ago or something, like I'm not over exaggerating. It might have been like four or 5 years ago. And he was my favorite professor because he would just say the craziest things, and he was so pretentious, and he was funny. And then one time he said, has anyone watched the Nick yet? And I don't think anyone in the class had. And he was just like, oh, it's so good. And I was like, I gotta see the Nick, and I never did. It took me this
Yeah.
long. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, he's one of those guys that you got to take his. Sounds like you got to take his recommendations.
Yeah,
Good
that's how I
at good
felt. I
at
mean,
recommending.
he was a little overly pretentious about a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
but um he still was like really brilliant and smart, and I was just like, yes, this guy.
Nice. Okay, the Nick. Yeah, I'm gonna add that to my list. Uh, Something that I don't have a ton to say about, but I just want to bring it up. Daybreak Express, which
Oh, the
is
short
B.A.
by
Pennebaker short.
Pennebaker. Yep. I am proud of
Because I know you've seen
myself
it.
that
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself that you just say the title and I know what that is.
Yeah.
Because
It's
I feel like it would have to be something that I'd look up and be like, oh yeah, that, like not like top of my
mhm.
head. I know what Daybreak Express is, but
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah,
Me too. Yeah. And
it's very memorable. So
I just watched the documentary. I can't even remember the name of it now, but it was about graffiti art in New York in like the 70s.
yeah, I remember you telling me about that and it sounded
God,
really cool.
I can't think of the name now, but there's just a lot of shots of trains in New York going
Yeah,
by, which is a lot
yeah,
of what Daybreak expresses too.
right,
And
right.
I was just starting to like romanticize trains and like
Yeah.
public
Mm-hmm.
transportation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a lot of what D.A. Pennebaker was doing in making this. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
realizing how much I love trains in cities. And when we lived in Denver, I used to take the train every day to work, and I loved it. And I would love getting to Union Station in Denver and seeing like they would occasionally have these old Amtrak trains come through. And yeah, this short just made me realize how much I just really think that's like interesting, and just like it's sort of like a timeless thing in a way for like
Oh yeah.
modern times now. Is like these trains have been around for decades now. And
And the
um
40s, 50s jazz of it, just
oh yeah, the
this setting
music.
the
Yeah.
time period. It's just yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I really it's just something so simple, but I
I
wanted to
know
bring it
that's
up
also what I
because
like
yeah.
about it. It's just so simple. You could tell he just went around and just shot B-roll around the city.
Yeah, it made me want to do something similar. Like I was like, man, I just want to go to like a
It is.
city.
It's something you could do. Like
Yeah.
when you were just talking about your love of trains and cities right now, I was just thinking I'm like I should just go shoot a Daybreak Express on the L in
Right?
Chicago, really. Like I know it wouldn't be there's no way it would be the same, but I could like do my own version of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Modernize it a little bit.
and in um like the very middle of, I mean, we're still kind of in the middle of it, but COVID stuff last summer, I remember I was really just having cabin fever, and I would just while I would work, I would have another monitor with just like of just cities. It would be like a city walk, or like someone just like
Ah,
filming like B-roll of someone in Paris or something. And it was just like the natural like city sounds. There'd be, yeah, a train
yeah,
going by, and that was like a really like calming thing. And so yeah, it made me. I was like, I just want to like go to a city and just like record things happening, and then just
yeah.
like keep that for myself in a way,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
like
I mean,
something
my
like
favorite thing to do at
therapeutic.
new places is like just walking, like
Oh yeah.
around. I don't really, yeah, that's all I really want to do. Like if I can do that and
Hmm.
then eat also, then that's all
Yeah.
I need. It's
Yeah.
the best
That's
way to experience it for me.
yeah. Last week we were talking about how we weren't really in good places mentally, and this weekend we were in San Francisco. And the day we like checked out of our hotel, we just we left our bag at the front desk, and we just sort of walked. We like walked all through Chinatown, and
Yeah,
went through
I've
cool
done that
parts
there.
of, yeah. And it's just like we had no plan at that, and that is just like a very meditative thing to do, is just walk through a city. Even like there are parts of it that just reek, but that's all part of like
Hmm.
the experience. So just yeah, it's a really nice thing. So that's, yeah, that's why I wanted to bring up Daybreak Express, because I know you do too. Just like we love that sort of thing, just sort of that vibe
Yeah,
of being in a city, and things are just
yeah.
happening. Yeah.
I really do watch a lot of shorts on Criterion collections sometimes where I forget them, but Daybreak Express is not one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I failed to even mention, like you said, the music too, like the music going along with it. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's like dun 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 dun. Dun. Well, now it sounds like I'm doing the Toy Story 2 music, but that's kind of what it's like, like the Woody's
Yeah.
Roundup, theme.
Yeah. Hey, it's all, yeah. it's Randy Newman-esque, you could
Dun
say.
dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah, I could just watch that stuff on a loop all day. Yeah. Um.
Yeah, and also there's an episode of Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown where they're in the Bronx, and there is a
mm,
graffiti artist where they kind of just stand on this building and they watch as their art goes, on each train passes
yeah.
by, and that for them is like their, I don't know, moment of glory.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just so cool. Like I
Yeah.
do about many things while I'm watching Parts Unknown. I'm just like,
That's so
so
cool.
cool, so cool.
There's some of that in that PBS documentary too, where they're just like having an artist and he's like waiting for the train to go by with his thing,
Yeah,
this same
yeah,
thing, and it's like his art gallery in a way, and it's like
yeah.
his like Pam's art show, um, but it's yeah,
The
but it's on
prettiest
the
art of
street.
all the art.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a good point to bring up the Bronx episode. That is
Yeah.
the same shit, man. Oh yeah, I eat that up. Yeah.
I think I will talk about the string of Criterions that I bought that I was able to watch. Um, One of these uh like, and I'm gonna do this really quickly, um,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm gonna talk about a few of them. One of them is Easy Rider, which I actually watched on the 4th of July, and it was
Nice.
actually that's a great 4th of July watch actually. And we also had just done our American movies episode,
Add that to the
and
list.
well, yeah, and I kind of was watching Easy Rider. I'm like, I could have totally put this on the list. It's like 100% about America, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a good one too. It's like one that's yeah, it's like I don't know, like I like where I'm actually like, all right, I can actually get serious about it. I'm like, this is about America, and I really like feel it, and I'm honest about it. It has like both the cynical side and the really uplifting side, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I watched that recently this summer, for the first time. So yeah, yeah,
Oh, did you really? This summer?
yeah.
Wow.
I remember you. I think you had it on one of our soundtracks
I did
episodes too.
because for
Mm-hmm.
obvious reasons, it's like
Yeah.
for the most part, it's a soundtrack. The movie, it's
Yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah. It's another one of those that um I've seen this like people like do these lists before where it's like you don't watch it for the plot necessarily, you watch it for the
No,
vibe or something. Yeah. And
exactly, a hundred
mm-hmm.
percent. And yeah, I
Just
mean, it's like
vibes.
in ways it's so repetitive, but it's like I just love it. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's brilliant. And
Yeah.
for the time where it came out and like the history around it and everything, and um especially when I first saw it, it was like one of my first weeks where I was in LA for 3 months, and I decided to just watch Easy Rider, and it just like fit the vibe of being in California so much that I found myself just driving around always listening to the soundtrack. And yeah, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's really cool.
Love Easy Rider. It's like one Criterion buy where I was like, this was one I needed to have. So I won't say I
Mm-hmm.
actually feel that way about everything, because sometimes I really do impulsively buy a lot of these Criterions.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. I've somewhere I've been like, oh my god, I I should probably sell that. Or
Oh my god.
yeah, that's taking up a lot of shelf space, and I've watched it once. Yeah,
Right, right. And like I give myself credit for just watching all of them once. I'm like, all right, I've watched it now.
yeah, right, yeah.
So that's Easy Rider. Another one I watched. would be I finally watched my copy of A Touch of Zen, but I bought that. That's not too bad. I watched that. I bought that in Thanksgiving, so it's kind of long, but
Less
not
than a
too
year.
bad. It's
Yeah.
also like an over 3 hour. It's like over 3 hours. So
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Got to be ready for it.
you delay doing something like that. But so I
Yeah.
finally watched that. And then I also finally rewatched my copy of Red River, which I really
Nice.
wanted to do. And it has like a book that it's based off that it came with it. So now I'll get to read that. Everything's falling into place there.
Nice. Yeah. Um yeah, is that all for your
Yeah, that's
criterions?
it. That's really it.
Well, I guess I'll along those same lines I'll bring up God, my voice. I'll bring up my July Criterion buys, which one I had a used copy of the Inside Llewyn Davis DVD. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up selling that to Disc Replay actually a while back and got a
All
new
right.
Blu-ray of that. But
Yeah, and you got the one with that the like the art on it. It's like that specific art drawn for the movie.
yeah, yeah, I love
Yeah,
the
it's really
cover of it.
cool. Yeah, I got
Has
that one too.
the poster inside it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I also got Le Samurai, the
Yeah,
the Melville movie, which I
yeah.
am a big fan of.
Haven't seen it, but I've seen you log it a couple times, and
Yeah.
whenever I see it, I'm like, "Whoa, John is going hard here with the
Oh,
Melville."
hell yeah. Yeah. This was I don't know how much Melville I've actually seen. I mean, maybe two or three. Um, but this definitely got me into I think only two actually. Um, but this movie I think was a big inspiration for Ghost Dog. And
Ooh,
now
shit.
I also have Ghost Dog on Criterion, and you can
Now
see
I
a ton of this.
really need to watch Le Samurai.
Yeah, because I mean it's about this assassin for the mob, but in
Like,
Paris, just like Ghost Dog, and he lives by the law of like the samurai and the
does
code of
he?
the samurai. Yeah, and
Oh,
I think Ghost Dog starts out similarly, but it starts out
yeah,
it's just in this guy's apartment, and there's just this quote from like the code of the samurai that comes up while this guy's just like smoking a cigarette, laying on his
right.
bed, and just so cool. And yeah, this is very much like the French Ghost Dog. Um, yeah,
Damn, I had no idea about this.
it's really cool. Yeah, I like it a lot, and it yeah, I don't want to say too much else because if you're already thinking like that's comparable to Ghost Dog, then you can kind of see maybe
Yeah, that really
where it
puts it on a
goes.
high pedestal. Yeah,
But yeah, but it's no just like generic. At least in my mind, it's no just like generic assassin like mob movie. Like it's because it ties in that samurai element to it, just like Ghost Dog. So yeah, I won't say any more. But that is like a great double feature. Is those two
yeah,
movies? Yeah,
cool.
and yeah, so I'm
There's
real.
a chance I'll end up buying that too.
Yeah, that's one I do not regret at all getting the Criterion version.
Cool.
So yeah, that's Le Samurai.
All right. The next one I will talk about Dude, Where's My Car? Which is just a stupid stoner comedy. Um,
hmm
that I actually, believe it or not, I expected better of this.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I really do love the stoner comedy. I actually think I won't go as far as saying some of them are masterpieces, but I will go as far as saying that some of them have great like masterpiece esque moments. Um,
hmm
like Friday is just one of those great hangout films. You get it?
So no, I missed it.
Oh fuck.
It's been bugging the hell out of me though.
Okay.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah, okay.
Pineapple Express has some of the most realistic, like picking up from your weed guy scenes ever. And being a stoner, like it's one of the most realistic, just realistic movies on being a stoner. Like it just really is. I just watched Bill and Ted. I'll kill two birds with one stone. I also just watched Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted, like Dude, Where's My Car? It really plays off the dumb stoner persona.
Mm-hmm.
But and the idea of like, let's put these two stoners into a crazy situation, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
it's all about how they react to everything. But Bill and Ed is just, it's not as fucking stupid as Dude, Where's My Car? Dude, Where's My Car? I'm kind of like looking at these guys going like, how do these guys live? How have they made it a day with how stupid they are?
Yeah.
And while there were some moments where I did laugh hard, it was all more so because I just couldn't believe like what was happening, and my brain just really hurt from watching this movie. And it was very early 2000s, and
Yeah.
it was just very stupid. And I would just not recommend it at all.
Yeah. I haven't seen Dude Where's My Car in a long time, but I just remember it being very much of its time, like one of those late 90s, early 2000s, like bro stoner kind of
Yeah,
comedies.
yeah,
Um, where the guys are just so ridiculously stupid that
yep,
they don't exist they don't actually exist in the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
for
So like
sure.
when they get those tattoos and they're like, dude,
Oh, yeah.
sweet, dude,
That was one of those. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sweet. Yeah, it's just
No,
like,
what does yours say, dude? Sweet. No, what does yours say? They're like over it. I was just like, oh my god, this.
yeah, yeah. What was your opinion on Bill and Ted? Because I wasn't really super into it. Like I liked it enough, but I wasn't super into it when I first saw
I
it.
mean, I liked it. I see why it's a classic, but yeah, it's also not like super great. I don't see like a reason to remake it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But on comparison to Dude, Where's My Car? It was just so refreshing to see just something that was actually kind of good,
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, and I do like George Carlin in it a lot.
Oh yeah,
I just,
yeah,
the fact
yeah.
that he's there brought it up a little bit for me. And I do think that there's a lot of funny shit in it. And
There's actual
Keanu,
positive
to
stuff to
see
take
that
away.
Keanu transition is pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually mind blowing. I think, I'm not old enough to really comprehend the transition of or the trajectory of Keanu's career going from like dumb stoner guy to now being one of the biggest action stars.
Yeah,
That is pretty
ever.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh yeah.
Yep, that's those.
All right. uh so next I'll go with something that is along those lines in a way. It's a new documentary, Woodstock '99, about the Woodstock '99 festival.
Uh,
That's on HBO Max now. Um,
okay. And how was it?
and it was okay. Um, it's I think I'm glad I watched it, and I think um I would recommend watching it too. It's an interesting look into this festival in the 90s, and it has a lot to do with talking about how the baby boomer generation sort of wanting generations after them to sort of go through the same things they did. And it's all sort of, just tying into one generation's nostalgia and trying to push that off onto another generation because they think they need to have that same experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there's a lot of shit talking about boomers, which I'm okay with. And it's a lot, just a really gross look into how terrible, like, like men in their 20s and like early 30s in this time, it seemed like in American culture were very angry and predatory on women, and this really sheds a light on that, which is very like disturbing in a lot of ways. Like there's so much you see, like they just show a ton of sexual assault and
At
exploitation of
the
women
festival.
at the festival, and
Yeah.
part of it almost seems a little like exploitative itself, but I think it's also important to shed a light on that. So I don't know, I was kind of torn because I don't know how well it approached the subject, but I think it's something that it needed to. But
Right.
because it parts it's like, okay, the movie is talking about exploiting women and how bad that is, while it's also exploiting women because there's so many like topless girls throughout this whole thing, and yeah, to a point where it almost seemed like self-indulgent. But I don't, maybe I'm looking too much into
Yeah.
it. But
It's also weird just because, like, girls back then were like, they were like, I'm a hippie chick, so I'm free, and I'm at Woodstock, so I'm naked now, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just kind of, there's
it's
different sides to it. I'm sure
it's like,
girls were probably, I'm not surprised if girls were raped at Woodstock.
oh yeah, yeah. But I feel like uh the original Woodstock sort of had this authenticity to it in a way too, which is why it was so popular and whatever. And they tried to just recreate that with this festival in '99. They even had someone playing the national anthem on guitar, like Jimi Hendrix did, just like trying to
Yeah.
recreate all this stuff that is just very hollow when it comes down to it. But um, yeah, I don't. It wasn't like an amazing documentary, but it was interesting, and I'm definitely like glad I watched it. But it's just like the lineup of this was just insane too. Like it really was like all of like the biggest names of like the late '90s, um, and how sort of ridiculous some of it was, and how what a weird mix of like groups it was, and like Woodstock '99 was like a disaster. Like they would started burning a stage down. There was just like uh
Yeah.
and it like a lot of bad shit happened, and yeah, so it's I mean it's an interesting look into just like what a disaster this was, and also just into sort of the generational divide, and like yeah, and it just goes into like with Dude Where's My Car, sort of um the pop culture of that era too, um and it talks about like American Pie and like movies like that, where it's like the men, you know men taking advantage of women, and women are really
Mm.
just like pieces of meat in a way. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. It was interesting. I think some parts of it I didn't think were great, but and some parts of it were people that were just like, yeah, but it was like Woodstock, and it was like supposed to be so amazing. It's just people like not super aware of what they were saying, I thought. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of just like a confusing event in general. Woodstock
Yeah.
99.
Just overall a bad idea.
How many Woodstocks have there been? Just two?
I think just two. There might have been more than that, but um I think it was just those two. But I think their plan was to do it, sort of to start doing it again every year, but this was such a disaster that yeah, they didn't. But yeah, no, it's still an interesting documentary. I would still recommend it. But I think it's also, I don't know, it is maybe self indulgent in ways too. But yeah,
Gotcha.
that's all I got to say about that.
All right. my next film is a film from the 70s, which I've been trying to watch for a while now, called
Ooh.
Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. Well, just one of those groovy movies about a young hotshot and
I still have yet to see it.
a thing of its time. And it's one of those where you gotta see from the cut, like uh along with like Grease, John Travolta gets his like he's famous for dancing in movies. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday Night Fever is like the pinnacle of that, I feel like, at least from what I've seen, because he is boogieing the whole way through. And in movies where more so you would be like watching the girls dance, more so in this, when you see him dancing next to the girls, you're watching Travolta dance. You're watching Travolta's butt shake, not the girls' butt shake, because he is doing it better.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. If that gets you
Oh,
excited in any way.
yeah, that's revving me up. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I feel like I think he plays like plays like a 20 to 21-year-old in it. So there's in ways where he's like obnoxious in this because he's just this young, like obnoxious hot shot who just dances all the time and in New York disco lounges. But the dance scenes are all like really cool. And
Hmm.
but the rest of the movie is not as good as these as the dance scenes, but it is really cool. And I feel like this movie also almost invented the genre, like the disco movie genre. Like there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of moments like and songs in this movie that you feel like when you watch Boogie Nights, you're like, oh, this is like they definitely are copying this from Saturday Night Fever. Yeah. Is this pre-blow? I think it's pre-blowout still.
Yeah, I was just looking at his like filmography. Like, so Carrie was right before it, and then Grease, or no, then Saturday Night Fever, then Grease, then Blowout, and yeah, and
Nice.
then Look Who's Talking. Another classic.
Yeah. So just wanted to knock that one out of my Travolta filmography.
Yeah. I feel like that's one you got to see, and I
Yeah,
say that as someone
exactly.
who hasn't seen it. But yeah,
You have to see it.
you
I'll
gotta.
I'll get to it eventually, but you
Yeah,
gotta.
you have to see it. I'll get there too. Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't like fucking love this movie. I wasn't like, enjoying myself the whole way through because there is a lot of just typical like, it's a young kid who's hungry, trying to better his place in the world. It's a very
Hmm.
just familiar, story. But, then there's moments of him just boogieing out there to some disco and there's cool lighting and you're like, this is cool, he looks
Yeah.
really cool.
Nice. Yeah. I'm for sure gonna have to get around to it one of these days. Um. All right. Next one that I'll go with. Well, I don't. You may have seen this too. Now, have you seen the new Space Jam?
No, I
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
get to it so I could talk to you about it and share my thoughts, but haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh man. Well, yeah. I'll.
2 hours seems a little long for a movie like this almost.
It is. I think the original was like barely 90 minutes. And
That's how it should be.
yeah, that's
Short and shitty.
and I gotta say, yeah, this was pretty bad. um, it's hard to even think of like any part that I really like was like, oh, at least that's nice or enjoyable, because it was just very cheesy. And it has been a while since I've seen the original, but there are still, I feel like, things that I can take away from it that I like.
Right.
And maybe it's just nostalgia, but yeah, this was um just very much overload with like Warner Brothers um IPs, whatever you want to call them, every
Yeah.
anything that's ever been Warner Brothers or HBO was in there, even Game of Thrones was in there,
Jeez.
and just LeBron just is an even worse actor than Michael Jordan, I think. And yeah, I just stick to dribbling, LeBron. Okay.
Shut up and dribble, bro.
Shut up and dribble. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. um yeah, I don't there's just a lot of lines that are just said that it's like um just like not they're just not funny, and there's no like heart to it. Like it's just like, oh, like let's throw in a line here that is like, this was a Twitter meme for like 2 days, let's throw that in there, people will think it's funny. And it's like, no, no one thinks it's funny. And maybe there's little kids that think it's funny, but it was very like demoralizing to watch
Just
this
yeah,
movie.
just trash, just total trash. Sounds like
Yeah.
I believe it. I mean, I know you're also like not really like biased like against this movie in any way, or like a LeBron hater even.
Yeah. It,
So
if you're a LeBron hater, will for sure hate this movie
oh,
even more
they'll
because
eat it up. Yeah,
oh
eat it
yeah,
up. They're like, yes, he
because
did. He did a bad job on this
yeah,
movie in Space Jam. He didn't live up to the masterpiece that is Space Jam 1.
yeah, yeah. And you know how like in the original Space Jams, there's a lot of glorifying Michael Jordan and like and talking about his like rise and how he's the greatest, and there's those same beats in this too with LeBron. So if you are really anti LeBron and you're like, he'll never be Jordan or whatever, yeah, you're gonna hate seeing all of that.
Because he frames himself in the same
Hmm.
light. Yeah.
And it's just like it's just so generic, and it's like LeBron's son is like this video game whiz and creates a
Yeah,
video
isn't he
game,
like a
and
dick to his son in this movie or something?
yeah, and like out of nowhere too. Um it's like, okay, he's been like, this kid is like 10 years old, and then all of a sudden this one day LeBron is like throwing all these like life lessons his way. It's like, and it's all just like sort of generic shit. Like they're sitting in his room, and LeBron's wife talked to him, and he's like, you got, like, he's not into basketball as much as you are. Like he's so good at like creating video games. He's 10 and he's a video game developer. And so he's like fine. He goes to his room, and they play a game, and the game breaks, like something goes wrong, and he's like, oh man, like I'm never gonna be good at this, like I stink. And LeBron's like, and he's like turned to him, and he's like, you have to push through adversity, there are going to be challenges in life. And he gives this like whole like speech, and it's like this like little tiny moment
It's like, when I
in
went to
life.
Miami, they gave me tons of
Yeah.
flack. I
Yeah.
never heard the end of it.
He goes through like his whole life story about all the adversity he went through. It's like, you've been this guy's father for 10 years, and you're just going through all this stuff like at this one point in time, this one
Yeah,
little tiny like it's just so generic. And
that
it
sounds
felt
funny.
it felt really really long too. We took a break at one point, like halfway through, I think. Um to, I think, just like get something to eat and just take a break, and then we watched the second
Yeah,
half, but it did
I can
feel a
see
little long.
myself trying to get through the second half and like having to snack my way through the second
Yeah.
half or something.
You could honestly multitask and sort of watch the second half while doing something else at the same time. Like that's yeah.
Yeah, I should probably like set up my watch this while I'm like setting up my beat business or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
That's probably like while I have something more going on. Yeah.
You'll really need something else to occupy your brain, because otherwise you're just going to spiral. And yeah,
Right.
your brain is just going to be like, I'm capable of much more than watching this. Yeah,
Well,
I liked it a lot less than I thought. I thought I would, at least think it's okay, but I really did not like it at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, have fun. Yeah, enjoy.
All right. What should I talk about next here? Well, I didn't talk to you about Mon Oncle yet
Oh yeah, yeah,
because I
that's
did
right.
watch that and I really really liked it, and I'm gonna watch
Awesome.
more Jack Tati after this. It reminded me of like an artsy, more like Buster Keaton, Chaplin-y Uncle Buck.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's actually a great point, Uncle Buck. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just I loved the vibe and the tone and the lack of dialogue, and the set design is unbelievable in the movie, and the
Yeah.
way the house of this family is kind of laid out, and how there's that like dolphin fountain in the middle that
Yeah.
kind of like stops spraying, and it kind of like it doesn't work entirely properly. So when someone enters, it kind of awkwardly stops spraying,
Mm-hmm.
and all the interactions are kind of in the middle of that front courtyard, and the
Yeah.
dolphin statue thing is kind of always in frame, and there's just a lot of like humor with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything is
I
pretty
love.
much style over function. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like laid out very well. Like there's one point where they're having um, a conversation about about him, like, getting him a job, and they're kind of like walking on all those like steps in the middle of,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and it's just like that's the way they're walking. It's just so funny, and it's just such great satire on like class in France.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's so many just great moments of like um people being just uncomfortable and
Yeah.
like Tati sits in that one chair and he's like sinks in and he's like
Uh-huh.
and his like legs are sticking up and
Right,
like
right.
the there's so many scenes, the kitchen scene too, where he can't figure anything out in the kitchen and he drops the coffee thing and it just bounces right back up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great one.
And you
Did
know
you
what
say you bought it?
I came really close to buying the Jacques Tati box set,
Okay.
but I didn't.
Ah.
Yeah. I think that may be something in my future, but I didn't pull the trigger.
Okay. And what were you gonna
uh,
say before that?
you know, there's that one part where it's at night and the lights are on in the house, and the two parents are in those two circular windows, and they're like looking through the window like it's the eye, like their eyes, and
Right,
that just
right.
like blew my mind. Like I was just
There is a
like,
lot
it
of
is
just
so
subtle
clever.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much that's just like so subtle and clever that, yeah. I watched this on my own. And I was laughing out loud, in plenty of places. Yeah.
Right. And what were the other Tati movies you've seen? Playtime and
So Playtime, that's like his most well known one.
yeah,
I watched last month. I watched Traffic.
Traffic. Yeah.
Um, that one is just another classic one.
Right.
Just like those two, and then um, Hulot's Holiday, Monsieur Hulot's Holiday.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I saw you watch that.
That was I think might have been the first one he did as this like character.
All
Um,
right.
and yeah, and I think they're all either on HBO Max or Criterion, one or the other. So
Looks like I'm going down that French route now with the Tati movies and Les Samurai.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely I want to rewatch some of those Tati, and I think there may be a couple more that I haven't seen yet too. So yeah, I'll be doing that too.
Nice. Yeah. So that's Mon Oncle for the second
Cool.
time.
All right. I don't have too much left. I think the next one I'll go with is Adaptation.
Yes.
Um, which
I like adaptation.
I believe you maybe recommended this to me at one point in time.
Probably. Yeah.
But
I've
yeah,
only
it's
seen it
another.
once, but it was pretty mind blowing when I saw what that. It was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I watched it now.
And especially, I mean, I'm sure the screenwriting aspect of it appealed to you.
Right. It's one of those where like if you ever hear any screenwriting writers or screenwriting professors or whatever name what movies are good for screenwriters, they say adaptation, which is almost kind of ridiculous because no one but that guy can write that movie.
Oh my
So
God.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's more so just one thing to be amazed by it. Like, there's no way you could be like, yeah, I could see myself writing stuff just like this. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's so, yeah, it's just so like brilliant. Like, just
Yeah.
like, the other Spike Jones, Charlie
Yeah.
Kaufman
Yep.
movie, being John Malkovich. Like, it's the same thing. It's like, who, who can come up with like this sort of thing and make it
Yeah.
work?
And make it
And
as like complex as it is psychologically and like yeah.
yeah, and very like real, like human stuff in these just like bonkers ideas. Um, yeah, I can't believe even just Coffin having the balls to like try something like this. Um, like, going through his own writer's block, and he decides, instead of doing a normal adaptation, to do something like
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's just his brain just works in a different way.
Hmm.
Um, I think yeah, he's just sort of like a mad scientist of a writer, and yeah, I really liked it a lot.
I think I
Yeah,
heard about it because I heard like an interview with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg when I was much younger say that the best movie ever written is Adaptation. That's just what they said.
wow, yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I mean, as writers
And you can
themselves,
see its
yeah.
influence in all their work, of course.
Yes, yeah, yes. I think this is the direct influence to Pineapple Express
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Superbad. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to that one. It's a
Good one.
must
Yeah,
watch. Yeah. And even for Nick Cage, it's like I think that's essential Nick Cage. It's got to be one of them. Like
he's
Leaving
great. Yeah,
Las Vegas, that I mean there's so much essential Nick Cage.
yeah. He's really really great in it. Um, yeah. Just I don't know. I'm always interested in a movie like this that is just so like in a way risky and like weird and different, like
And
no matter
dark.
what. Yeah, and really dark. Yeah, I'm always gonna like take something away from it, and it's gonna be something unique. That yeah, I'm always here for something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, great movie.
I want to bring something up from earlier that I should have because I talked about No Sudden Move and Matt Damon. Matt Damon was recently on WTF to
Hmm.
promote whatever new movie he's doing. I forget what it is.
Oh yeah, he's got like a
They
goatee and a
yeah
hat.
yeah he's in that
Yeah.
new movie he's doing. Um, and the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because he has a great Departed story in
Ooh,
it. That is
Stillwater. That's the one.
Stillwater. Yes,
Yep.
yes. The one that's like supposed to be like it seems like a Taken thing, but it's not. I think is what I've heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there is a great Departed story in this episode of WTF,
Oh.
and the episode overall is just really good in general. So, but it's worth listening to just for this story about the Departed. It has to do with Jack Nicholson uh, and his like I don't know how he decided to do a certain scene, and Damon does a good Nicholson impression as he tells the story, so it's pretty funny.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't listened to that one. I'll give that a listen though. I did
Yeah,
listen to Steven Soderbergh,
I
was
did
on
too.
recently. Yeah,
I
that
did
was a
too,
good
of
one.
course. I mean, I'm.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if you didn't. Yeah. Nice.
All right, so I guess I have a movie to talk about next. What should I do? All right, I watched finally. Again, I will say finally because I feel like that's kind of the types of movies I've been watching lately are just movies that I really feel like I've needed to get to for a
Hmm.
while. You know,
Yeah.
um, that was Saturday Night Fever. Um, the next one is Charlie's Angels,
Yes. The
which
Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, Lucy Liu, Charlie's Angels.
yeah, yes, directed by Mick G.
Yeah.
Oh, I always forget Mick G is a fucking director. I don't know how many Mick G movies have you seen,
Let's see.
John?
I've got his. So I've seen Charlie's Angels. I've seen This Means War, and I've
I
seen
have seen This Means War. I think we talked
We Are
about it
Marshall.
and we are, yes,
We talked
oh
about both of
yes,
those. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I actually like We Are Marshall kind of.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I was watching. I think when I watched This Means War, I was watching it with my brother Jake, and he said, I forget. I said something like "This is ridiculous" or something like that, and he's like, "Yeah, that's because McG made this movie." And I was like, "Who the fuck even is McG?" But
Yeah.
he's one of
Yeah.
he's a big Hollywood director. I mean, I guess so.
Mysterious guy. Yeah.
Made some
McG.
iconic films, kind of too. At
Yeah.
least iconic enough to um, one iconic enough to be remade. Um, yeah, and
He, he is. I'm looking at his Wikipedia now. He has also directed um, the Smash Mouth All Star music video.
oh shit! All right, so that's probably the most iconic thing he's done.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's probably my favorite of his work. Is that?
So Charlie's Angels, I really wasn't didn't like, but I thought it had some stuff going for it. I thought that it was weird how it was weirdly committed towards being like comedic and making fun of like female stereotype shit and um I don't know, kind of trying to be female empowerment, but also funny, but it also just wasn't because it was clearly written by men and made by men.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also all the women are very um, sexualized in the movie.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
also
Yeah.
like, and they kind of make fun of the way they're sexualized also, but I don't know. It still feels written by men a lot, so
Totally. Yeah.
it just doesn't totally work, and it has a very mixed tone, and um, yeah, yeah, like it had potential, to
Mm-hmm.
really work for me, but um, it's definitely very flawed. It's also pretty entertaining, and pretty funny sometimes, and has a lot of cool like action scenes towards the end. The standout was probably Drew Barrymore in this for me. I think she's the best in the cast. I mean, that I might
Yeah.
also just be
I'm
biased because I like Barrymore as an actress the best out of these three, but
I'm not a huge Cameron Diaz fan, for whatever reason.
no,
But
no.
but yeah, I like Drew Barrymore a lot. Yeah.
And I also found it weird how Bill Murray's just there as like the Angels kind of pimp.
Charlie, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he wasn't Charlie though.
Oh, maybe he wasn't.
At the end they like kind of I thought the whole
Oh no,
movie
he's
he
not.
was
He's
Charlie.
wait, do you even find out who Charlie
You
is?
don't meet Charlie. It's kind of like a bit at the end where they're still talking to Charlie on a speaker
Speaker,
and they're
yeah.
like Charlie,
Speakerphone.
how are you? Where are you? And then he's like they kind of make a joke about how they just won't see who Charlie is. You know, you won't meet Charlie.
Yeah.
But I did think Bill Murray was Charlie the whole movie, because at the beginning he kind of like sits by them on a couch and says, "My angels." So,
Yeah.
you know,
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, so it's understandable to think that.
I vividly remember the only time I've seen Charlie's Angels is when I was a young lad, and as a family we rented this from Blockbuster and watched it, and I just all I can remember from being like, I don't know, 8 9 years old is when I think back on it now is that it seems like a movie from this time that's just like mainstream and sort
Oh
of
yeah.
general and has these
Yeah.
like general ideas, and it gets popular, and
Yep.
all I really think I took away from it as an 8 year old boy was that I was uh very very interested to see the ladies in their clothing.
They are
And
very attractive in
it was eye
this.
opening as a young boy to see that. Yeah, but it's kind of it's goofy. I feel
Just
like
look at these women.
that's what I was 8 years old. Just wow, would you look at those women,
My
those
wife,
angels?
I'm gonna marry her one day.
Yeah, I like the look of that Lucy Liu. Yeah, I'm just like this little kid in a robe and smoking a cigar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I view women. Women should look like this.
But that's what, yeah, I feel like a lot of early 2000s and late 90s things would be like acting like they were woke and for women and everything by being the exact opposite of that.
Right. And they're, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just very like out of touch. And I'm glad as a society that we've grown from there. Yeah.
I feel like a little gross when I watched this movie, because
Hmm.
I was like, I picture, I'm like, there's probably something that like dudes watch together in a group at like, when this came out, and drank beers and like, oh, look at Cameron Diaz.
She's so
Oh,
hot. Yeah.
yeah, and watch it. Yeah, and I'm just watching alone, going like, what is going on
Yeah. They probably just got back from Woodstock 99
here?
and went to Blockbuster, picked it up, and yeah, then have a bro night.
All right,
But yeah,
that's Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but Mick G. Okay, I think
If anyone though was gonna make it, it'd have to be someone. It's only fitting that it's someone named McG.
it's only Mick G. Yeah, just like Charlie is mysterious in those movies, he's kind of mysterious too. As just his name is Mick G. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
what is he about? Yeah. Um, so I think what I'll bring up next is not a film. It wasn't something I saw on a screen, but we talked a little bit about this briefly before. But I saw Hamilton, the the musical in person
Oh,
this weekend.
nice. So how long
Yes,
was it?
boy, it was pretty long. I tell you, yeah. I think the runtime on the like streaming version of it is longer than the actual play. So I wonder if they add um something to that. But yeah, I mean it was pretty close to 2.5, almost 3 hours. And it started at 7 and we left a little bit after 10. And that includes like it started a little bit late and then there's also intermission. But yeah, it's I think a really good production overall, and I see why it got pretty popular. But I also just like before I saw it and before it came on streaming, even I don't think I heard one single like piece of criticism about it at all. And I was like, there's no way, especially nowadays, that anything this popular can be this good without there's nothing bad you can say about it. And I think once it got streaming, then more people saw it and critiqued it, and I maybe just heard more criticism of it. Um, and then even one of our friends out here said he's very into musical theater, and he said he does not like Lin Manuel Miranda and like his music or his plays at all. Um, and yeah, I thought it was a really good production and everything. Maybe just not my thing. I didn't get super into it, and I did feel like it got a little bit long. But I was interested in like the history aspect of it, and it brought me back to Mr. Hiles' U.S. history class, which we had together. And
Yeah.
I
Funniest guy in
remember,
the world, still to this
God,
day, Mr.
yeah,
Hiles.
yeah, he's yeah, I still laugh about that class to this day. Um, but yeah, I remember like some things from that class that I enjoyed like learning about, and I think it's an interesting concept too. I guess Lin Manuel said he wanted to make a story about like U.S. history, but how we would talk about it like today. Um, but I thought it was hard for me to get into the music and to sort of follow along with everything, because it is very much like everything is there's no like spoken lines really, like it's all just like constant, just like rapping and singing, just like
Yep, yep.
moving through like so fast. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough, but it went over my head. um so it was a bit, yeah, I think I couldn't get into it as much. I see why it's popular, and I definitely think it's like really good, but um yeah, I also wasn't like everyone who I'd heard had seen it was like talking about how it was the greatest thing ever. And part of me thinks that it's just sort of nobody else was really criticizing it, so you almost have to say that. Um, and yeah, I don't know. And maybe Lin Manuel stuff just isn't my thing either. So yeah, but I'm glad I saw it to be a part of like you know, the cultural event of the past few years that has been Hamilton. Um, so
So what do
yeah,
you prefer, that or In the Heights?
I prefer Hamilton to In the Heights. I think I definitely do, and it's weird because I haven't seen like the stage version of In the Heights, and I haven't seen like a movie version of Hamilton, but I think I liked Hamilton more. And
All right.
I mean there were songs that I thought were really good, um, but a lot of it just sort of blended together for me and didn't really stand out too much. And there's a funny thing too is Jim Gaffigan talked about this one time where he's like, you can get away with so much like easy comedy in a Broadway musical, but if I put that in my act, I would never work again. I would never like book any spots. And it's so true because there are so many moments where like the woman next to me was like a super fan. Like she was singing along. She clapped so hard. Like they'd be like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Jefferson," and she was like, "Yeah, whoa!" Like going crazy. Like,
It's her 16th time seeing
oh
it.
yeah, she had for sure seen it a bunch. She laughed at every beat. Probably laughs as hard every single time. So it was nice that people were really into it. But yeah, there would be parts like the king is supposed to be like this, like the comic relief of the whole thing, and he didn't do like anything that was really like funny, but people would laugh so hard at him. Like he'd just walk out and he'd be like, brimming with overconfidence, and then say something like so just like generic and not that funny, but it's a Broadway play, so everybody laughs so hard at it. And like he's like, "Oh, George Washington resigned from power. I didn't know you could do that." And then like the place just erupts in laughter. And it's just like, I don't know. I just feel so
Yeah,
like so weird about like, okay, like this is like church, like people laugh at things differently in church than they do at like a comedy club or if they're watching a
right.
stoner comedy or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you say if you ever end up seeing it or even watching it on Disney Plus, whatever.
How
But
long is that play gonna be? That production gonna be like a, are you able to see it like live like that? Hasn't it
I
been
feel like,
years?
yeah, I feel like 2017 or 18 is when it was first getting like really big.
Yeah, it's like still going.
Yeah, I feel like
I
it'll
mean,
maybe
maybe
go.
that's how it works. I have no idea.
I mean, they still bring back classic musicals all the time and stuff too.
That's true.
So I feel like it maybe will have like a little bit of a break, and then it'll come back and it'll be like a big deal. Like, oh, they're bringing Hamilton back to Broadway or something, and it'll be um like if they bring like another Star Wars movie, like one of the prequels, and they show it in 3D at the theater. Like that's the thing. Like let's get people excited about seeing Hamilton again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Hamilton. Nice. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's all. I think that's all I was
Yeah.
gonna say. Maybe I will see Hamilton.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't. I'm not that keen on it.
I don't think you have to, but yeah, it's but yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with people liking it though. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, continuing the same run of me seeing movies that I have taken forever to see, the next one would be Field of Dreams.
Oh, yes.
A movie that everyone talks about. It's like one of those. Okay, another one I watched was Austin Powers, the first one, which
Oh,
is one of those
that was your
movies.
first time?
Yep, it's one of those
Wow.
movies where I've always said if I ever say I haven't seen it, I might
People.
actually embarrass because people go at you. People go
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"How have you not seen it?" Like you could tell it's like a religious like cult following. And
Mhm.
I thought it was pretty good. Like I
Which
kind
one?
of got it.
Field of
Austin
Dreams?
Powers.
Oh, Austin Powers, yeah.
Both were pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah. I
Austin
really
Powers
liked Austin
like
Powers back in the day, and
right.
I still like it. Yeah.
I could see if I had seen it more like being more, obviously with those comedies, it's the more you see it, the better it gets. The
Mhm.
more you can anticipate the jokes and then they meet your expectations, that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. Right.
Um, Field of Dreams was a weird, weird watch, I must say. If you did not grow up with it, I maybe others will relate to this, but I feel like most people grew up with this, so they won't.
I
But
did, yeah.
I did
Mhm.
not. I did not. So I thought it was a weird, weird movie. But I also understood why people are so religious about it and why it is so like moving for some people. Because I mean, at the end, like Kevin Costner's dad like comes back and they play catch on the field. It's just so. I mean, it this movie sometimes rings like it was like it's like a Miyazaki movie, like how
Interesting. Yeah.
fan and that is like a little leap because there is a lot of like um kind of goofy weird shit in this that where I was like what but like I think it has that like fantasy element to it, like
It
a
does, yeah.
Miyazaki where it has holds a lot of emotional innocence and a lot of meaning, and that kind of brought it up for me. I just didn't know really what to expect at all. I just knew he built a baseball field. I didn't think it was going to be this strange, really.
Yeah, and like supernatural in a way.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. I had no idea. So because of that, it was really funny to watch for the first
Yeah,
time
that had to
alone.
be
And
shocking. Yeah.
it was. I was like, I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be so supernatural and religious about the game of baseball. And yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
But like,
I
as someone who did not grow up liking baseball, I got it. As it went on, which just shows it is really good.
yeah, yeah, this is one that I definitely grew up on having, my dad's side of the family is all from Iowa, so I have these like Iowa connections and yeah,
Yeah.
everybody talks about it. And when you go to college in Iowa and
Did you visit the
I've
field? Can't you visit it?
you can, yeah. I've only ever driven through Dyersville. And I was still in school, I would drive through Dyersville and I always stopped for gas there. I never actually went to the Field of Dreams, but there's just so many signs for it. And when you go to school in Iowa with Iowans, they love anything about Iowa or anyone from Iowa. So you kind of get beaten over the head with that stuff. And I'm not, and most of my, Iowa friends are very aware of that fact. And it's the same is true for Chicago stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just constantly hear like people say like, well, Iowa is heaven. And I always like in my mind, I'm like, wait, it's specifically in the movie he says, no, it's Iowa when he asks
Yeah,
if,
that's
if
what
it's
he. Yep.
heaven. Yeah.
I was gonna break that line out eventually.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
with that said, like growing up, I really loved Field of Dreams. And yeah, and it's very like it was felt very emotional to me too, like the father and son element with Ray Liotta of all people is Kevin Costner's
Yep.
dad, which is so funny.
There's more of us. Can we come back?
Yeah, and then just like the whole if you build it, they will come, and just the
Yeah,
cars coming over. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so it is yeah, like it is very good, and I will still say it is so weird.
yeah. It is. Yeah,
Just because I didn't know what to expect. Just the fact that they build the field and he's like staring at it all year, waiting for something to happen, and he's just this Kevin Costner kind of ignorant. He's kind of an ignorant farmer, kind of, and and he's like, my father never did anything with his life. And I'm worried I'm ending up like that. I mean, I'm 36. He's like, I gotta do this. And
yeah.
he's like, am I crazy? And his wife's like, yes, but I support you in doing this.
And then doesn't he for some reason I'm thinking that this might be a different movie, but he meets up with James Earl Jones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go to like
Does
Yankee
he?
Stadium or something or Wrigley
Yeah, he
Field,
must. Yeah. I think
and
they
then
go to
they talk
like
about
maybe the
Moonlight
yeah,
Grand.
yeah.
Yeah, and like
Oh wow,
I
that
like that little moment too, that
yeah, I forgot about that. That's a whole
adventure.
subplot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just got confused there because I actually watched another 80s movie with James Earl Jones. No, James Earl Jones isn't in that movie. Never mind. So I'm confusing these movies now. I thought James Earl Jones might be in this movie I just watched called Crossroads, um,
Hmm.
with Ralph Macchio, but James Earl Jones is not in it. Yep,
Oh,
he's in
I'm
Field of Dreams. I thought he
I'm looking
might
at
be
that
in both.
picture now.
I thought he
Uh,
might be in both of these for a second. So I was gonna
Go
like
Seneca.
bridge them together.
Oh yeah, but
But
all old black
Crossroads,
guys look alike. Luke,
yeah,
is that
that's
what you're
kind of
saying?
what it's coming across as. Um, there is a speaking of Field of Dreams, there's an old black guy in Crossroads too, who isn't as good as James Earl Jones. Um, Crossroads was actually a movie that was loaned to me by a coworker
Hmm.
because he said he brought up Crossroads. Like, you haven't seen Crossroads, and it was one of those moments where it's like it was the biggest movie to him, and I hadn't seen. I'm like, no, I haven't. So he brought it in for me to watch it, and so Crossroads features Ralph Macchio as this young aspiring blues artist
Hmm.
who is obsessed with Robert Johnson. So the old African American actor, um, Joe Seneca, he plays a guy who was Robert Johnson's harmonica player.
Hmm.
And so the two are just Ralph Macchio. It's like basically Ralph Macchio and this guy on the road together. And it's actually a lot of times kind of boring, but there are some great like moments of just Ralph Macchio playing blues guitar, and there's this really absurd guitar duel at the end with this one guitar player who is like apparently he played for like Frank Zappa. He's some famous guitar player. Um, and him and Ralph Macchio kind of have a guitar duel at the end, and it gets like it's one of those where it just gets really absurd. Like the guitar playing just is so out of hand that it's like not only really cool, but it's also kind of hilarious to watch them. You know, it's just, if I don't know, it's just great if you're just someone who's grown up liking guitars and
Mm-hmm.
um just grew up liking to watch, say, like Jack Black or Jimi Hendrix like go crazy on a guitar, and like where it becomes an absurd performance where they're rolling around while playing and stuff like that. And while Ralph Macchio doesn't actually play in this movie, he's a great faker of playing, and
Ah.
he looks pretty cool while he's doing it too, because Ralph Macchio looks pretty cool doing anything. Um, One of the coolest child actors probably of all time.
It's a cool kid. Yeah.
Yeah, cool kid.
Nice.
So
I've
yeah,
never heard of
that's a
Crossroads.
random one. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
random one. Uh, okay, John, do you not have any more?
Uh, I could go over another one quick.
I have two more.
Okay, I'll do one more then. Let me just decide between. You know what? I'll go with. This was a while ago. I actually watched this on the 4th of July, but I'd rather bring this up than a more recent one I watched. Dead Man, the Jim Jarmusch movie,
Oh, nice, nice.
which you had also told me that I needed to watch, and yeah, I loved it. It is definitely one of my favorite westerns now. It was very um a good like change of pace with other westerns that I had been watching in the past couple of years, and yeah, I really I think I watched it at a good time where it um especially the ending really stuck with me a lot more, and it was, yeah, really emotional movie.
Yeah, that's also one it's like a great introduction to Jarmusch. Like if someone's only seen like one of his movies or none even, like it's a good one
Mm-hmm.
just to be like, oh, watch that one. That's a very accessible, just accessible one, the Neil Young score and Johnny Depp and
Yep.
the
Mm-hmm.
adventure aspect. And I remember it was probably maybe the second or third one I watched, and it was yeah. And it's it's more of his style and pace, so it helps with getting used to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I just was very much like invested in it from the get go, and I think, um, yeah, I just liked that it was definitely a different type of western with these like spiritual and Native American elements into it, and
Yeah.
it seemed like it was everything I'd read about it was that it was very much like Jim Jarmusch made sure to be like respectful of Native American culture, within it, and to be accurate, and um, yeah. So I thought it was something very different and unique, and yeah, I would love to also get this one, the Criterion version of this one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got a cool one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
That's Dead Man.
I have a book called The Complete Poems of William Blake, which I have been slowly
Oh, nice.
reading, and the main character in Dead Man is actually named William Blake.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a tribute to him for somehow. And since I don't understand most of William Blake's poems, I really don't have a it doesn't give me a lot of deeper understanding into Dead Man, but I still think it's pretty cool.
Nice.
All right, so I think I'm gonna do the Suicide Squad is good.
Ah.
James Gunn brings a cool vision to it. Idris Elba's pretty badass. John Cena's pretty badass. Harley Quinn is really good, and you can see a Guardians of the Galaxy bridging of the gap, celebration of
Mm-hmm.
superheroes sort of deal again. So that I don't feel like spending that much time talking about the Suicide Squad because I think it's getting enough praise. But I did like it, and yeah, It's
Nice.
another superhero movie. So I'm gonna do one more movie and a book,
Oh,
and I think I'm gonna start with the book
do it.
because yeah, I'm very excited to talk about it, and it's also very up your alley. It's something you should definitely read. I read Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book.
I was gonna ask you about
Um,
this. Yeah.
yeah, it is damn good. Um,
Nice.
and especially if you like, not only is it like impressive, just uh, the prose and the way it's written and stuff, and um, you can tell how deep he is into this world for sure. Um, but if you're a fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it is only just like it's like just adding on, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
more, it's like dessert with the dinner to me. It's just so good. It not only has like stories that like aren't in the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of I don't know, just be having it be like a book based on a movie. It's kind of like experiencing the movie in a different form is actually very beneficial to a movie that is there is so much to unpack and is so much about like history and the era and all that stuff. So like a book for that like source for this material is very beneficial, and I think it only just benefits to get like deeper into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has just chapters where it's just going off on what films Cliff Booth liked, whether he liked Godard or not, whether he liked Truffaut, whether he liked.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much talk about Sam Peckinpah in this book. Like one thing Tarantino has a real good ability, like when it comes to writing, is he can just rant about like film history or music history and like what was going on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I must like I it was a book that it was like it's a kind of thick book, but I read it really quickly because I wanted to read it every spare chance I had.
Nice.
So I highly recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna for sure get that. I was actually um thinking about that the other day, that I wondered if it was just sort of, yeah, like a novel version of the movie, where it sort of gave more
Yeah,
details into certain things,
right.
um and like, yeah, provided some more like backstory or just information that
Hmm.
wouldn't fit into
Yeah,
a movie. So nice.
that's
That's
kind of what it
awesome.
does. And then it has like a few scenes here or there that just aren't in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how the movie um he finished like what's his name? Rick Dalton kind of finishes on set, and then they cut to like time passes after that, and then all of a sudden they're in Italy filming movies.
Yeah.
The book kind of finishes, and there's a scene where like Rick Cliff and Timothy Oliphant's character kind of go to a bar and like just talk for a while about the industry. So it's like you get to see stuff like that you didn't
Nice.
get to see. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm for sure gonna get that then. Nice. Do you have the Goodreads app?
I do not. What is that?
Um, it's like Letterboxd, but for books.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah, I think that's also right up your alley. Um,
It is. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, I heard there's a like a letterbox for like wine, and I've actually wanted to get that because I've actually tried a good amount of wine in the past
nice.
year, and I find it impossible to remember the wines I've tried because like I don't know, it's just a whole new thing.
Yeah, I'm bad with like remembering what wines or what, and
Yeah,
like which
like
ones I really like more than others. Yeah,
yeah. So I'll
nice.
have my one for movies,
Movies, books, and
movies,
wine.
wine, and books. And I think there's one for beer too, where you like log the
Yeah.
beers you try. But
There was one bar where we used to live that had like they had like a screen of that. They had just like a bunch of craft beer on tap and they had like a screen. So if you had the app, you could log whatever beers you had. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Haven't dabbled in that yet, but
no.
yeah, I'd recommend Goodreads.
All right, cool.
I enjoy that. Yeah. Don't use it enough though, but yeah.
All right, and so then the movie I'm gonna bring up would be, to finish us off here, would be Tony Scott's Man on Fire with
Ah,
good old Denzel.
Denzel.
Which would be me kind of rounding off my Tony Scott Denzel like collaborations, because I've now seen Unstoppable, Pelham 123, Deja Vu, and now Man on Fire.
All right.
And yeah, it's a really underrated collaboration, I'd like to think, to a degree. You don't hear people talking about the days of Denzel and Tony Scott enough.
Never. Yeah.
Never.
Never.
So here's how I would rank them. I would say Unstoppable is my favorite. The Taking of Pelham 123 is my second. Then it goes Man on Fire, and then Deja Vu. Yeah, but they're all pretty good and worth watching, I would say.
I forgot that he did both Taking of Pelham 123 and Unstoppable.
Well, yeah, and
That's
speaking of trains,
train.
John, this is Tony Scott's Ode to Trains.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Love those train
yeah,
movies.
yeah. Um, and Man on Fire is I think made in 2000 and hey,
Hey.
I disappeared. I accidentally clicked there's this part of my mouse.
Oh
Um
yeah.
it's a really complicated mouse, and yeah, if you click some things sometimes it just goes somewhere else. So, yeah.
All right. Well,
Uh
you're back. Yeah.
I'm back. Another bathroom break basically. Uh what was I saying? Oh yeah.
You were saying Man on Fire came out. You were like Man on Fire came out in 2000 and then it cut out and you never.
In
Everyone
2004.
everyone's dying to know what year in 2000. It's like
Yeah. The
what is
year.
it? Spit it out.
And so it stars Denzel and Dakota Fanning, who was uh, the biggest the biggest child actress of the time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Uh, and then it also has Christopher Walken in it and Mickey Rourke, which is pretty dope. And
Yeah.
when this movie began, I thought it would be the best Tony Scott movie for just a lot of things. Like, I liked the story it was kind of setting up. There's a lot of like cool emotional aspects to Denzel's character. He's like a badass who like has killed a lot of people. He's killed a lot of people, and he drinks a lot, and he's a security guard to just Dakota Fanning's family in Mexico, because Mexico is a dangerous place. It was in 2004. It still is now. And it kind of involves like Denzel developing this like relationship with Dakota Fanning, and it's kind of giving him some hope in his life, which is actually really well done. And him and Dakota Fanning have great chemistry. And then kind of she gets kidnapped, and I kind of sort of fell out of it a little bit, because it's kind of Denzel just really angry and shaking a bunch of guys down, and to like find her, and that kind of felt not as original to me, and more it just kind of dragged on for me a little bit at that point. But overall, this is still a very fairly good quality movie and action flick, which goes a little 20 to 30 minutes too long, but I still think is definitely a must watch in Tony Scott's filmography, and a must watch Denzel movie too.
Nice. Yeah. I still gotta see Deja Vu and Man on Fire to complete the
Yeah.
the collab.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, nice.
But yeah, that would round it out.